Okay, and that means Colorado's best attorney, Phil Harding, is here. Thanks for joining us and sponsoring this segment. Phil, you have so many years of experience, and I love it when you come in here on Friday because you give everybody some expert advice. And today we're going over the jury system, and what are we going to go to next?
Well, so I want to talk about the jury system. And look, our country is one of a handful of countries that let our peers decide who's right and who's wrong. All my friends, right, they get the summons in the mail and they're like, hey, Phil, give me the inside scoop on how to get out of being a juror. And I give them the inside scoop on how to be a juror. There was, on my trials, I've never, well, except for one, and maybe we'll talk about it, but I've never heard from any juror that didn't love the experience. So I want to dig into, before we go into everything, what jurors never know about. Because it really shocks people when I'm talking to jurors afterwards. And the first thing that jurors never know about is the jurors come up to me and they say, why didn't you try to settle this case before? I got to tell you, every court, every district court here has what's known as an ADR order, and it stands for Alternative Dispute Resolution. And what it means is, before we go to trial, we have to go in front of a retired judge and try to settle the case. Now, and that's, if you want to keep track of rules, that's Rule 408. Now there's another rule, 411, that says you can't mention insurance. Isn't that crazy?
So you can't mention insurance.
You cannot mention insurance, that someone has insurance or that they don't have insurance.
Okay.
And if they do, it's a mistrial. You have to try the case again.
Over again, all over again.
And the person that brought it up, they have to pay the fees of the other side. So,
really?
And that was, I'll tell you about that one in a second. The next thing is the judges excluded evidence all the time. And so the jury doesn't know about a bunch of stuff. And then finally, if the defense on the opening argument comes in and says, hey, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we've accepted liability, so it's only about the money. The reason why they're saying that is because they're the insurance company and you know you can't bring that up. So they now make you feel guilty about, oh, the plaintiff is bringing this case, so, geez, he's here and it's only about the money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, why can't jurors know about the how behind it all, how the accident took place?
So if someone's accepted liability, it's no longer relevant why the accident took place. You can talk about the forces, but let's say the guy's drunk, right? Runs into someone, the jury or the insurance comes in, but we can't mention insurance, the insurance, defense, and says, we've accepted liability, so it's no longer relevant if this guy was drunk, if he was, had drugs in the car, if he had a gun, if he was running from the law, any of that. It's only relevant as to how much someone is injured. So a lot of times they say, we've accepted liability so that you don't know how the accident took place. Because if he was a drunk driver, or he had guns, or he was doing something illegal,
whatever it may be,
wouldn't you give him a lot more money to the plaintiff?
So do you get all of these instructions when you go in for jury duty? Do you get all of these instructions as a juror? Do you guys explain this?
At the end, you'll get jury instructions, and there's generally about 30. And let's talk about one of them. If we have a graphic, we can go to it.
Okay.
And let me just pull this up here. All right. So here we go. It says, any finding of fact must be based on probabilities, not possibilities. You should not guess or speculate about a fact. Here's the other part of this jury instruction. You must not be influenced by sympathy, bias, or prejudice for or against any party in the case.
Okay.
And that sounds right.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, and the jurors at the end, you get about 30 or so jury instructions, and then you write down, does the plaintiff win? Does the defendant win? How much is to be awarded? And different categories like pain and suffering. But so I had this one case. And it was a bicycle running into another bicycle. And this guy who was with the bicyclist that I was suing was an attorney, but he was a criminal attorney. And I called him out of order. I called him so he's my witness. And I said to him, hey, tell you what, you do criminal law, you don't do civil law, don't mention insurance. Because I knew it'd be a mistrial. So they're going through and, I'm talking to him, and then defense gets up and does a cross of him. And then he says, well, that's my testimony, except for what Mr. Harding said I couldn't talk about.
Oh my goodness.
And
So what happened?
the jurors were like, what?
come
What?
on.
And so they started writing the notes to, what did Mr. Harding say that he couldn't talk about? So I went up to the judge and I said, Judge, we have to say there are rules of evidence that things have to be excluded. And the judge says, nope, not going to say that. I'm like, you've got to, give them some instruction. Judge's like, nope. So we ended up winning that case.
Woo.
But the jurors are walking out, and normally jurors want to talk to me. They want
Sure.
to talk about nuances. I was like, anyone? And they were beeline. They were away from me. They made no.
We should go to court with Phil.
Yeah, a little
And
court
watch
experience
the
with Phil Harding.
action. Because I love it when you bring those real stories in. It just kind of gives the big picture. And before we finish today, when it comes to being a juror, you recommend it. You say don't run away from it, because a lot of us don't want to do it. But you say
think it's
actually
fun,
yeah,
don't
you think it's a good experience.
Look, that's part of our Bill of Rights.
Right.
We're talking about it.
It's our system.
In the 6th and the 7th Amendment, man, 20% of our Bill of Rights talk about it. Our founding fathers really knew that this was important, because in other countries, there's political appointees that are deciding who's right and who's wrong, and that bites.
Yeah, absolutely.
That bites.
It
Well,
bites.
Phil, yeah.
That's a legal term, by the way.
Is it? Of course it is.
Yeah.
Legal jargon all the
makes
way
it all
here on
very
this
real.
set. Thanks a lot, Phil. We
Phil.
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you. We're going to have some more information for people right here. To reach Phil Harding and Associates directly, call 303-762-9500. You can also make a free consultation anytime. Go online and check out Phil. He's really awesome. Thanks for coming in today.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Phil. We'll be right back.